With the lipstick on.
Oh man.
Okay. We are good to go on our end.
All right. Are you going to introduce or shall I just?
I mean, if you've got a particularly spicy intro in your back pocket.
Well, let's just roll. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is BC Clark. I'm with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. I am Director of Training and Client Development, and today I'll be presenting to you some recommendations on how you can protect your business. And, the last 2 years we've been in a crisis, so that's what this is about. We learned quite a bit during these past 2 years, and these tips may help you going further. We never know when a crisis is going to come up. So let's just kick it off. So the first thing that I'll tell you is that you really want to stay calm and don't panic. Now that's a whole bunch, right? In one statement. But you want to be ready to you know, to to go and do what you need to do. COVID-19 kind of changed our lives in ways and at a scale we could never have imagined. And the business plan that you had 90 days ago or even 2 years ago isn't what it is today. So we need to, plan, adapt, and reconfigure. And that's what a lot of businesses are doing. Your business for each stage of the crisis has been different. If it's a short-term problem, then cutting costs and other variable spending like marketing, new hires, and things like that, things you can do. But we've been in a 2 year chaos crisis type of a situation. And so you've had to do more than just that. It was very impactful to um, any type of business that was out there. It was impactful to vendors, suppliers, and all of that. Look at the whole logistics train, and it just caused a lot of stuff that was happening. And so I think sometimes we just have to make sure that we stay calm and don't panic. We want to put health and safety first. As a solopreneur or a sole proprietor, even an LLC, we have to prioritize our health because if we're the only ones in that business, we have to make sure that we have to limit our travel, and we have to do a lot of things that we did to pivot to keep ourselves going. But in that first year, it was really hard. It was hard to stay calm. It was hard to not panic with so much going on. And but I think that the only way that we could, and we have gotten through it, and this is our second year, is to be able to stop, look, think, and then pivot or either move in a direction that we needed to move, where we could actually begin to see how we could plan. And I think that was the most important thing is that when you're in a panic mode, it's hard to really lay out a plan. And so what we learned during this past 2 years and tips here is that if we have to kind of stay calm and not panic and make sure that we are able to stay in control of the situation because it's so many moving parts that a lot of us had to stop. And as an advisor, business advisor, we were doing a lot of mentoring and consoling during those past 2 years. And I'm so grateful. It feels to me that we're no longer in a pandemic, but we're in an endemic. So hopefully it'll be ending soon. And I don't think we'll ever be what we were. But I think what we have to do is just kind of move forward. Hopefully, we've looked at some goals that we've set, some planning that we've done to, for contingencies in case that we have something else that comes up. It taught us a lot. It taught us about making sure that we have that extra documents and procedures for contingency in the event of. And let's face it, I think the last time we had something that was so impactful was 100 years ago when the flu first came out and people went through the same things that a lot of people are going through right now with the vaccinations and not wanting to take those. So that's one thing that we can say is we want to try to stay calm and not panic. And I know it's easier said than done when you're in a pandemic, but I just think that we need to make sure that we kind of stay on top of things. the pandemic brought us lockdowns and uh, government regulations and things we couldn't do, and we had to mask and all those things. So, with all of that going on, we just, I think we just have to remember to stay calm and move forward. Um, the other thing is that, we want to maintain the control of our cash flow. And I have to tell you, there was a lot going on. The way that you could do this and to offset a tip here is that you must have an emergency fund or a reserve. Most people, when they have their businesses at home, they know they have a cash reserve for their family, cash reserve, personally at home. But you have to do the same thing for your business. An emergency or contingency plan can assist you with that. And if you have reserves, for instance, like when the pandemic happened, that first year, there were some government advantages that you could take advantage of, like the PPP that came out and the economic injury disaster loan. And if you those individuals who had 3 to 4 to 6 months of reserves were able to sustain their business until the PPP kicked in or the idle kicked in. But those who did not, I had to do something drastically different. And in some cases, they had to close. So, we're saying you want to account for financial risk and impacts. Regularly update and track your cash flow forecast and look for, opportunities to reduce non-critical expenditures. Also review your accounts receivable and assess any credit risk. That's important to have a financial reserve you can draw from. And that's what I'm talking about, that financial reserve that we just spoke about a minute ago. If your customers close operations for a few weeks or months, what impact would that have on your revenue? And obviously, that's what happened in the case of the past couple of years. So you want to make sure that you do have your financial reserve or your emergency fund for your business so that you're able to make whatever adjustments that you can make that reserves to be what you draw from in the middle of all of that. And I tell you, it's we saw we've seen many things. The other thing, we saw a lot of people not communicating with their teams and with their suppliers, and not communicating with and because everybody was just in, kind of not knowing what to do and how to do. It was very impactful. But a tip that we found out is that some individuals were not staying in connection with their team or their suppliers and their customers, and so a lot of them wasn't sure if the business was still open. So staying connected with that team, with your team, is really important. So develop a communication a plan that you can reach out to your partners, to your suppliers, investors, and other stakeholders. Keep them abreast of your business policies at the time that things are happening, any changes to your operations, or any new ways you can serve or collaborate with them. I think it's important to let them know where you are, what's the status of your business, and making sure that you are able to um, keep them informed so they kind of know. Because I know a lot of businesses were like in a way they weren't communicating to anybody, not on social media, not anywhere, and a lot of customers were wondering if they were still open. So it was really important, and I think they may have lost some market share during that time. But it's really important. That's one tip that we really learned as we talked to businesses about this was that they said next time they want to be able to have a communication plan so that in the event of something like this they would be able to put that on and let it automatically go out every so often, and that's an excellent plan to have. You have to make sure that you're communicating because they have no way of knowing what's going on. I mean, we had clients calling us at NEF to find out if certain businesses were open that they knew were our clients. So yeah, keeping everybody informed is really important. So stay connected with your team and make sure that you're letting them know exactly what the status of your situation is. One thing you want to do is make sure that you're talking to your lenders. You want to talk to them and make sure that you're letting them know the status of your business. Let them know what your financial situation is. For instance, if maybe you you have to close your shop, don't have any business coming in, then let them know that because they will need to know in order to be able to assist you. Make sure you're sharing and be honest about your situation because your status at the time is critical. You don't want to have these headaches of trying to wonder how you're going to pay something if no money's coming in. So it's best to really sit down, go over your financials with your lenders and your creditors and let them know what's going on, what you may need. Maybe you may need to defer some payments. Maybe you may able to do only interest only payments, but you definitely want to make sure that you're communicating with them and helping them understand where you are and what needs you have during the current situation. And that's really important. And like I said, these tips all came about after we kind of got together with some business owners and said, what did you learn over the past 2 years? And these were some of the tips that they came up with. They said, it was really hard to know what to do first. And let's face it, when that happened in March, I think was the biggest impact of 20 all the way down or 19 all the way down. It was just it was so impactful that people couldn't think straight. And the first thing that we did for our clients was to offer deferments. That we know would bring them some source of um, calmness for the moment. They didn't have to worry about paying anything for at least the next 4 months to us. And also, we gave them suggestions on things that they could say to their other creditors and their lenders, which I think seemed to put things in perspective for them and calm them down so they were able to think and look at what they needed to do next. So that's really important, making sure that you're keeping in contact with your lenders. There's also other that you will need to make sure that you're keeping in contact with as well. And you want to talk to your vendors about working together, looking at maybe short-term financing. These are things that you'll have to do, talking to your suppliers. Um, maybe the orders, the items that you order and need, or maybe they were ordered when everything happened and you don't have them. So just working out what you can with those vendors because obviously they were in a pandemic as well. So just understanding that they may have some issues and concerns, and but I think if the two of you guys can work together to work something out with your vendors and your suppliers, that'll probably be a great opportunity, even to look at maybe some other things that you could collaborate on and make happen for both of your businesses. So just think about that. And I think the other thing too is when it comes to marketing, we probably want to, kind of assess where we are with our marketing plan. As we talked earlier, one of the tips was that they want to make sure that they have a communication plan or a marketing plan. And that's really important and insightful because as you assess your long-term marketing plan, if you have one in your business plan, there may be things that changed. I do know that during the pandemic, there were products that were no longer relevant. And so, businesses were looking at things they needed to add and some things they needed to remove. So review that customer segment, who you're actually targeting and who you're selling to. You may have to do some adjustments there. You may have to look at your media channels and decide, do I still need to do this at this channel? Maybe I need to do something else. Maybe I should try other things. When you're in a pandemic and money is funny, you may have to decide instead of being on TV or being on a radio and those type of things, you may just have to sit there and put things out on social media, which is excellent. Or, you may have to do other things. And so check those channels and making sure that you're getting the best bang for your money in advertising. And then are your products still relevant? We kind of talked about that a little earlier. A lot of the products that clients told us that they had to get rid of because they just weren't relevant anymore. And I think several businesses found that out and they had to pivot and do some other things. I tell you, the other thing too is a lot of people started their business during the past 2 years. About 24% new businesses got started. The other thing was that some people found out that things that they could do right away when the pandemic happened. I mean, people started doing masks and um, getting gloves and ordering this and start selling those things. And that's really important because I think a lot of times what happens is that we don't think about other things until there is a pandemic. So although there was a lot of loss during these pandemics, there were a lot of things that were created, a lot of things that changed for the better doing it. And so, sometimes we have to be able to adapt as things go on and be able to be flexible on certain situations and then move forward. And it's important to take your time in doing that. Don't rush it. If you're scattered and kind of trying to figure out what to do, you have to stop and relax. And that's what most all of the businesses told us, that they had to actually just stop and be calm, that they couldn't think until they really collected themselves. And so we just have to, watch those things. And, like I said, these are tips from actual business owners who told us this is what they had to do. You want to beware of scams. And as we all know, this is the perfect time whenever there's a storm or whenever there's a crisis or anything that happens, someone is out to scam. So making sure that you're not signing up for things that you don't need, making sure you're not sending money somewhere without actually knowing where it's going, and just being cautious of the things that you're doing and the things you're listening at. A lot of times it sounds so good, but it may not be any good for you, and it could be a scam from somewhere else. And so a lot of times you want to check out all these scams and make sure with the Better Business Bureau and others agencies that do that type of work, make sure that it's something relevant. Make sure it's a real company. It's really hard to determine that when these companies are offshore or offsite or in different cities and things. So just make sure you're not getting caught up by scams. And there were a lot of them during that time, a lot of them. So just make sure you're staying on top of that. I think it's going to be great too that you spend time with um, trying to, when you have that downtime, you have to spend time on your business. A lot of people say I'm in, you know, but I'm not on it. So if you can't work in your business, doing like, and a lot of people could, then consider how you might work on it. What things do you need to change? Reassessing your operation. You may want to run best case and worst case scenarios and develop contingency plans for each area of your department. Include your time frames in your assessment that consider the impacts of the emergency, crisis, pandemic, and if it becomes a 3 month or 6 month or even a 1 year problem. For example, if a critical personnel became sick or hard to or had to look after a family member, how will your business accommodate these changes? So try to identify others who could step in and learn key, tasks, or either even looking at retirees, how can they come in and help? Family members are either independent contractors and freelancers. So this is the time that you want to look at these type of things and figure out what is best um, for that. But try all scenarios and write out your plan. It's almost like the resumption plan we did last year that we wrote and spoke about tremendous amount of time so people could understand what things they needed to do. So that's an opportunity for you to, while you're not maybe at work, write out plans of each area of your business or each department and see what will be the contingency for that. And when the pandemic is over or whatever that crisis is, now get with your team and have them give their input. What things can we do better? How will this work? That's going to be really key in going forward. The other thing that I think is really important is that we have to consider things like people. Consider, long term. Sorry about that. You want to consider long term uh, changes in your staffing. Maybe now you don't need 25 people on staff. Maybe you figured out that, what, with things have changed and shifted, maybe you don't have all the departments open like they were before. So you may have to look at that and see what makes sense. Look at your processes. Consider implementing change in how your business processes its products and services. That's going to be key. I know a lot of individuals are doing that right now. I'm working with several businesses are now looking at revamping their whole operation. Making sure it's running more efficiently. They found out that they could during the pandemic. So those are good things that you can remember. Look at your product. Determine if you should add, delete, or change that product. Okay, or the service or the menu, and a lot of people have done that as well. Make changes to your business model. Do you need to change? Is it time to upgrade, improve, add more technology to it? I mean, those are things that you can do and look at while you're not working, in the business. And then you might want to implement a budget to improve your business. once some normalcy comes back to it. Or make sure you start a reserve fund so that you have that in the event of, a failure or a crisis again. You want to make sure you stay on top of that. These are great tips that people have learned. You also want to perform some deferred maintenance on your facility. That might be something that now you can do that. Maybe you're not in the business right now. You might want to work on your marketing plan to make sure that it's up to date and you're doing the things you want to. You have the channels in that you need. You may not need all the channels you were using. So you may have to tweak that a little bit and change it in ways that will work for you today. If you look back 2 years ago, what did that plan look like? And what should it look like today? So don't go it alone. Some things that I want to let you know, don't go it alone because there's a lot of people, a lot of agencies and resources around that are there to help you. So consult an advisor for help with any of the important decisions or to act as a sounding board for maybe issues that you want to discuss. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money to go out and do that. Now, beyond tax planning and return preparations, a lot of companies are out there to help you. So make sure that you're using services that can help you as a client and effectively navigate the time that you're uncertain about. And if we can check and see if there's any questions, but actually that does end my presentation. And so if there are any questions, I would like to take those now. I do have my information here. Let me tell you a little bit about more about some of the products and some of the workshops that we have at the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. I think that would be very helpful to you. We do have a new product. It's credit building as an asset. So we're doing credit counseling, but we're also, once you go into that program, into the credit counseling, and you need to build your credit score, if you're under a 630, we have a program that you'll go through. And also we have a credit building loan where you can grab 500 to $1,000 if you have a business and you're able to, it's a 1-year loan. So it's 500 to $1,000. But once you go through the training and the consulting, the counseling, you're able to get that loan and every month you'll pay on it. It's an installment loan. And so with that, and then we've worked out some things with other banks that have secured loans, secured cards, which are revolving, and you need a mix to build your score. So if you're under 630 in your credit score and you need help in that area, you want to be able to build your score up so that you're able to be confident and walk in, need a loan, business funding and that type of thing, please don't hesitate to give us a call. My information is on the screen there. Some of the other things that we're doing is QuickBooks. We run a 2-day QuickBooks. We just have one right now going on, the 25th and 26th. Next month, February 15th and 16th is our next one, and that one will be in Lincoln. We also have one in March and one in April. So take a look at our website and look at the things that are there that you can apply for. And most of those classes are free except for our QuickBooks class. We also have business essentials. So if you're a business owner and you want to come on and it's a Facebook Live program that we have, you want to come in and talk about your business, but also share some tips and tools with other businesses. This is a live program. We want to make sure that you're able to do that as well. We also offer financials. If you want to understand more about your financials, we have a 5-part series that you can sign up for completely free. You can get on Zoom and you can check and see when they are. Sign up for that. We have a marketing series as well. During the pandemic, we found out there was a lot of issues with mentally with owners and employees. And so we also have a series on mental health for employers, employees, and others. And you can certainly jump on and go through those. And all these workshops are on Zoom. We try to have most of them in the evening time when people are off work, so you can, actually have time to look at them. The other thing that we do is there's also, I think, a process for our loans that you can look at. We do, as a community development financial institution, NEF does loan money. So the 3 things we do is technical assistance, training, we do mentoring, and we do loans. We do loans up to 150,000. So if you are in need of education business-wise, please don't hesitate to contact us. Again, we're the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. Our website is nebbiz.org. You can reach us at any time. I have my email there and a phone number. And if there are no questions, or if there are questions, I'd like to hear those now.
Kind of taking notes, so I'm good.
We're good on this end. So anybody that's joining us through Zoom, see we got a few participants. If you've got any questions, you can drop it in the chat right now. And give you about a minute to do so.
Yeah, I should have said this was a kind of a short one. It was kind of a study we did with some business owners. And I thought we need to get these tips out.
That is all right. No need to, if you can get all that information in half an hour, why, you're saving folks time, and time is money.
That is true. That is so true. Oh my.
All right. Well,
Okay.
quiet there. Thank you so much, BC,
Very
for
welcome.
sharing your insight and your wisdom.
Yes.
This was a filling, a half hour for everybody. And just as a reminder that all these videos are recorded, you can find recordings of them on our Facebook page at DoSpace. And then you can also find some of these cataloged on our YouTube channel, DoSpace. We have different playlists, and we have one dedicated to the Nebraska Enterprise Fund that covers topics very similar to what you heard today. Yeah, that's all I have. BC, anything else? We good?
No, I think that's it. But thank you so very much. We really appreciate it, and we thank you, DoSpace, for having us on every month. So we'll see you next month.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye.